Now hit. Hey, Chattanooga.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. We are so glad to be with you. Footnotes, episode 42.
42. We're coming up on another milestone.
Wow,
Looking forward to
42. We are thrilled to be with you today. What a joy it always is to just get to spend a few moments with. Thank you so much for allowing us into your car, your home, your office, wherever you listen or watch this podcast. My name is Raymond Sloan.
And I'm Vandy Watt.
We are with Cornerstone Apostolic Church, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is a ministry. Basically, we once a week draw near the microphone and we talk a little bit about the previous Sunday's message. Dan Gibson this past week was the preacher, did a fabulous job, great move of God. Absolutely. If you haven't gone to our website, we do invite you to do so. First screen came up, there's a QR you can scan. At the end of this podcast, there'll be another opportunity. Scan that, it goes right to our website. You can follow all the cool stuff. What else on the website?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. We've got access to our social media platforms. We've got our calendar. If you're looking for something to do, just check out our calendar. We've always got something happening for kids, for adults, for young people, whatever it is, hyphen age, our college and career age. So always something going on. And you can find all that information on the website.
Perfect. And there's merchandise. There's all the archived thing. You can go find all kind of cool stuff. Tonight, though, we are going to spend just a few minutes. Dan Gibson, of course, talking on Sunday, did a fabulous job. The title of his message, what was his title, Andy?
The title was The Gates.
The Gates. Explain really quickly what in the world that means.
So what he actually was discussing is, he really focused in on the book of Nehemiah, chapter 3, and what had happened in Jerusalem and, leading up to those days. So, especially looking at specifically when Nehemiah went back and found that remnant of people that were still residing in Jerusalem, and the process that they went through of rebuilding the walls and rebuilding everything. And specifically, he spent a lot of time talking about the importance of that gate, that they could rebuild the walls, but it was necessary to have the gates as a part of that as well.
Okay, so Nehemiah, for those who are Bible scholars, you already know this. For those who've never heard of a Nehemiah, he had a great burden he had found through testimonies of travelers, let's go real basic here, that Jerusalem had really just gone to shambles.
Yeah, 70 years, I believe they said.
Yeah, broke his heart. So under great weight, if you will, he asked permission to go and to see what he could do if he could rebuild the wall. So go there and start at that, and then go to the message and watch it. It'll get a little more detail there. The cool part about it is the Bible says in Nehemiah that there was a sheep gate, and the sheep gate, of course, would have been the entrance and the exit to the city. It's where the commerce, it's where the low life and those who had animals and whatnot would come in. The beauty of that, though, let's look at this the way Dan did on Sunday. What's the purpose? Let's begin real basic. Vandy, what is the purpose of a gate?
Okay, well, start with the most basic principle of a gate is, you've got walls and a structure to protect what's inside. And so the gate serves as that opportunity, not just to hem everything in. Otherwise, there would be no need for a gate if the purpose, because the walls would cover all that. So the gate was to allow the entrance and exit of the things that needed to come in and the things that needed to go out.
And you could control it.
Yes, and you could control it. Okay. They had, Dan mentioned this in his message on Sunday that, they had gatekeepers. Right. And their job as gatekeepers was to make sure that the right people came in, conducting the right type of business.
And the wrong people stayed out.
And the wrong people stayed out that were attempting to conduct the wrong type of business.
Now, this, if I may, 2025, we don't if you're not a farmer, or if you're, you don't really put a lot of emphasis on a gate. But fact is, I'm not sure. I'm going to guess at this because I'm not that farmer. If you were to put, let's say, a fence 20 feet by 20 by 20 by 20, and you're inside, you're building it around you, you've got all the material, you've got all the help inside there, you're building. You take all day to do so. You got the post, and then how do you now finish that fenced area? How do you get out?
We could do like we did as a kid and just climb over and hope your jeans didn't get caught on the top as you tried to climb over.
So I know that, I realize, guys, that that's a very basic, but here's the thing. Everything's got to have a gate.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be access. You got to be able to, as you mentioned, control who comes in, who stays out. There has to be whoever's the owner of that. Now, on that note then, Dan brought out really, really well the fact that sometimes as humans, day-to-day walk, day-to-day life, sometimes we can forget the power and the value of a gate.
Yeah.
Honestly, and we can allow things to come in and go out. We can leave the gate open.
Yeah, and I mean, it always makes me think of the dog we had as a kid. Yeah, her name was Lonza, chow dog, based on, anyway, one of the sweetest dogs ever. And most of the time we kept her chained up in the backyard. We'd go out and play with her. And we had a gate at the house. And so
why did you have a gate?
We had a gate to, just because we had the fence and it just seemed natural there was a gate.
Sure.
So then we just became so accustomed to not worrying about her getting out that it just came to the point where my brothers and I, we just would start leaving the gate open. And over time, she wore out her chains, she wore out her collars and different things like that, and she would get out. And, we loved our dog. Our dog was a part of our family.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, she was no longer there because the gate had just become something. Yeah, because the gate had just become something we were so accustomed to just being there, but it wasn't being used for its proper purpose.
So life application is, if you use the gate with its proper purpose, it actually helps. Somebody in recent years spent a whole lot of time, and we won't do the detail of it, but somebody spent a whole lot of time talking about they don't want gates, they don't want limits, they don't want boundaries. They want to be able to do and to be free and to do what they want. And my statement to that is, if that's the case, then how in the world do you even know what's going in or coming out?
You don't.
You don't.
Yeah. I mean, we had the same dog analogy. We had, other animals that made their way in there to see our dog and to hang out. And there were other strange animals that made their way in there that didn't belong.
Yeah. So the purpose of the gate then, Vandy, is that it's got a reason to be there. Now, application. Dan begins to bring it out, and through the story of Nehemiah, of course, building the gate was of vital importance because it was going to identify to everyone else that was working to rebuild this wall. It was going to identify to them how everything would flow, right? So that's important then in Nehemiah's day. It was important for him to understand, if I can put this sheep gate back where the things happen, where all the stuff's coming and going, then the point of reference is not the fact that we're going to put the wall back, but the point of reference is going to begin at the fact that we understand we have to have a way to go in and come out and control it. Gatekeeper, you mentioned.
The gatekeeper.
So if that's the case, what else? He brought out a couple of other really cool points about the gate.
One thing that he brought up that I just really, really stood out to me was when he brought up Isaiah 60, verse 18.
Okay, the prophet. Go ahead.
Yeah, the prophet Isaiah, in the book of Isaiah, of course, that goes along with his name. But in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 18, he brought out that the violence would begin to disappear, but gates would be called praise, capital, capital P. Yeah. And walls would be salvation, capital S.
Wow.
And what's really funny is as we started looking back to that and doing some comparisons, we noticed that this tracks back to another story, that there's a lot of things that happen. You want to talk about that just a little bit?
With in reference to, because we really got deep there.
Yeah, with Hezekiah.
Oh wow, Hezekiah! Wow, yeah. If you were to, beginning at chapter 60 in Isaiah, if you were just to gently scroll backwards there in your Bible, just flip the pages back, you're going to notice there's about, well, beginning at basically chapter 39, it begins. It talks about how Hezekiah did not understand the value of securing the gate, making sure that the gatekeeper was doing what was done. And so when another king came to visit, Hezekiah went in and took and showed everything that they had.
Everything.
Walked him through the treasury room, through the armory, walked him through all parts, not even considering at that point. Now, he may not have thought about it, but the fact remains, he was actually allowing the enemy to come in and not even considering the value that gate should have had.
Yep.
And at that point in chapter 40, mentioning what you did, that point in chapter 40, then here we go. Game on. Now Isaiah is going through this whole litany of verse. You can read it yourself, 40, 41, 42, all the way up to 60. And the entirety, then the rest of Isaiah's writings talks about that and how that it was affected. Point being is that if we now do not understand the value of gates and how praise and salvation have to be guarded, then we will allow the next generation to suffer for that.
Yeah, it was so significant in that, everything that started to happen, throughout the Old Testament, the stories we know of Daniel and, what he experienced while in Babylon and different things like that with the 3 Hebrew boys, all of those things, and an entire generation or multiple generations, as you mentioned, were all tied to one man not protecting what he was given. And Isaiah even asked him, like he said, hey, where'd these guys come from?
Yeah, yeah.
And Hezekiah is, it's kind of humorous in the sense he's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's like, but he's like, I don't know where they came from, but they wanted to see you. So I showed it. It's like somebody knocking on your door.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, we're just new to the neighborhood. And the first thing before you get to know them at all, you're like, well, let me go show you everything we have. Let me show you where my kids sleep. Let me show you where I keep my coffee can full of cash. Like, here's the code to my gun safe. It's like all these different things. Like,
wow.
And Isaiah looked at him and said, all it took, Hezekiah, was a little bit of wisdom.
Right.
And understanding that your responsibility was not to open it up for everybody.
Right.
But your responsibility was to guard those gates.
Wow.
To protect what was within.
Yeah. Now, again, wow, what an incredible opportunity for us, let's say it this way, an opportunity for us to learn from that mistake. Listen, I'm all about, loving folk, people coming in, getting to know them and all of that. I got no problem with that. And buying, I don't have all the billions of dollars in coffee cans and whatnot. Mine would fit in the Keurig cup, the quarters. Okay. I got sidetracked. But
Dixie cups.
the fact remains, we have to understand the value of limits, the value of predetermined yeses and nos. Mm-hmm. We have to set boundaries and limits in our home. We have to teach our children to do so. We don't do it out of fear of what might happen. We do it out of love because we want to make sure that those around us understand the value of the in and the out, if you will, of coming into the things of God. Now, the beauty of it, again, if you've not watched it yet, we do invite you to go and to watch that message. Fabulous, great move of God. The gates serve such an important part for us. I believe that now more than ever before, parents, grandparents, young folk that are growing up and learning and loving, falling in love with God, you've got to learn how to value the Word of God, how to value the things of God, and how to make sure that your focus doesn't get sidetracked and distracted in the world in which we live, because the enemy is very good at that. And if he can come in, you know what he'll do?
He'll steal, kill, and destroy.
He'll
It's what the
come-
Bible
he'll
tells
come
us.
right in. That's
Yeah.
right. Closing words, Vandy. What do you think?
Man, tell you what, the most important thing I think I can look back over my own life experiences and be the most grateful for is that there were family members of mine that protected what was within.
Beautiful.
And I am so thankful, even though at the time, just like a pet in your own backyard,
Right.
you know, wants to kick against it, try to find a way out of it. But I'm so grateful that no matter how hard we tried, no matter how hard my brothers and I and my cousins, we all tried to fight against those things and push against them, they kept the gate secure. They didn't let these things in, and they protected us. And so that's probably my biggest takeaway is like I have a responsibility now to my kids and their kids to make sure that I protect what's within.
Beautiful. Well, our time is up. We are so glad that weekly you allow us to come in and spend a few moments with you. Again, go to our website, cachattanooga.org. You can find all the date and all the information. At the end here, there'll be a QR code. You're more than welcome to scan that with your phone. We love you guys. Somebody will be back next Tuesday. Us preachers get to swap this around, and we sure do enjoy doing that. Love you all. Have a wonderful, blessed rest of your week.